So welcome to a public service announcement because there is literally no information on this group set anywhere, all right? We're going to change that today. We're going to talk about the WE K-Force group set, and I promise we're going to do some hot takes. There will be some hot takes, some stiflingly hot takes at the end of this vlog. Let's do it. So let's start then with how it works. Now this is a semi-wireless group set. Let me explain. The brains of the operation is this guy, the front derailleur, okay? And the way the shifting works, okay, is you have your shifters and they send an amp plus wireless signal to the front derailleur. From there, if you're making a rear derailleur shift, the front derailleur will send a signal to the rear derailleur via a wire. So there is a wire connecting the front derailleur to the rear derailleur. There is also an internal battery, so similar to the way a Di2 battery might sit in your seat post, and different to the way a SRAM setup has the batteries actually physically on the derailleurs. Now there are also cranksets, chains, cassettes, brakes, all that as part of the group set, but let's be honest, it's this shifting stuff that we're really interested in. So the takeaways then from how this works and how this differs from what you're just really used to, okay, is the first is this 11-speed group set uses an ANT plus technology. And the second thing you need to know is the only wires is this to this. And that is really what FSA are trying to double down on with this group set, is it's really simple. So that's how it all fits together in a manual, but how does it work out on the road? Well, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll just sort of talk you through how this works, okay? The first thing that you do when you go to your bike is you turn the group set on. Okay, now you don't have to turn the group set on and off, but there is an option on it as opposed to some of the other wireless group sets, and I choose to do it. In the app, you can set it to turn automatically off after an hour, but I like turning it off. So coming to my bike, I will turn the group set on. And once you start riding, you will need to actually activate the shifters. And to do that, you'll just do one press on the shifters, and it activates the shifting. So that first press won't make any shift. You have 4 buttons basically, an up, a down, an up and down on both shifters. You can really do in the app whatever you want with those shifters, but the standard operation and the default way that it comes, and it's actually the way I have kept it, is my rear derailleur is over here on my right hand and my front derailleur is over here on my left hand. There's no double tap or anything like that. It's very similar to Di2 type shifting. There's multi-shift options, so if you do hold the button down, it will shift down through the gears, and you can change the speed of that, you can change the amount that it will do in one button press, all that kind of stuff through the app. Again, real similar to all the other group sets out there. But where the similarities end, guys, is the adjustments, the micro adjustments, getting this group set dialed. And the best way for me to show you this is actually their YouTube page, which has some really good videos on how to set it up. So let's jump into their workshop series. The first part of riding this bike is turning it on, okay? So you turn the group set on, as I said, the battery, the whole brains is the front derailleur. And you'll go up to the shifters and you'll shift into the 6th cog. Essentially, you're shifting into the middle of the cassette, all right? From there, you'll enter set mode. And what I have learned as this goes along is this is a really important facet of the whole thing, because every time you hit set mode, it's almost establishing an auto 0 for the whole system, okay? You know how with a power meter, you kind of set it up and it has this, you know, that's base camp type thing. That is the most important part of this group set, okay? So we've gone to the rear derailleur position into the 6th cog, and what you're doing now is you're micro adjusting the rear derailleur to be bang smack in the middle of that 6th cog. Now the protocol that I've been using is going up the cassette just a little bit till it starts to tink at the next shift, come down to, and that seems to be perfect. The front derailleur adjustment is super simple. Again, you're just using the micro adjustments on the shifters to make a 1mm gap between the cage and the chain. The reason I played you that is this is where you totally have to shift your brain, okay? For example, let's say you're out riding and you ride up the block, like the 28, the 25 or something like that, and the adjustment's not right there, okay? It's tinking out, it's like over skipping a bit, it's a bit of rub or something, you just don't like the shifting up there. Normally what you would do is you would make an adjustment with that particular gear, not with this. You always base all your adjustments back in the 6th cog. So for example, if that gear up there was tinking a little bit to go too high, you would go back into the 6th cog, you would go into set mode, and you would back the derailleur back there. Once you hit set button again, bang, that's its auto zero. It's its auto zero because now the group set knows, right, I'm in the small ring and I'm in the 6th cog. If you hit set mode and you're in the 8th cog in the big ring, the group set thinks you're in the 6th cog small ring. So you'll have to readjust the group set going back to the 6th cog small ring and hitting set. But once you get your head around this, once your head kind of comes in line with like, oh, I don't like that shift down in the 11, go back into the small ring, shift 6th cog, make the adjustment, come, that's better. Once you make that mental adjustment, it's actually a really simple group set to use and maintain because there's not really much to it. There's 3 more things that I want to talk about. And the first is that everything is interchangeable. So by that, a great example of this actually was down at Tour Down Under when Leo was involved in a crash on the first stage in the crit. Now Leo's one of the guys running the WE group sets, himself, myself and Dylan. And he was involved in a crash. And basically his rear derailleur ended up in his wheels. So we only had one spare. We took it off my bike and we put it on his bike. And the setup process on that rear derailleur was literally nothing. You just plugged it in, and because it's wired to the front derailleur, that was it. There was no pairing process or anything like that. Everything, as I said, is interchangeable. So the levers that I destroyed in my crash the other day, I got one lever, repaired it, and straight away, no problem. So everything's interchangeable. Comes back to this thing, if you can see where they're going with it. They want it to be simple. Now with simple has come with some challenges. I'm not gonna lie. The 11-speed version that we've been testing for them as this has gone along has had some challenges. And I think a lot of that is based on the Ant Plus protocol, which isn't the strongest, as many of you will know, is not the strongest Wi-Fi protocol. I think a great example of this is, we've raised this a few times, and Dylan made this comment to me at Nationals. He said he felt, and he'd been riding the bike for 4 months on it, no problems, been going really well, but he felt when he was in that bunch, how many Ant Plus devices would have there been in that 200 peloton? He felt that the shifting, whilst it was still working, was still fine, he felt it was affected. That's the word he used, affected it. So that's essentially it. That's how it works. That's how it works out on the road. That's some of the performance things and some of the little updates that we've thrown into the mix as it has gone along. Now, I promised you some hot takes, all right? Promised you some hot takes, so I'm going to give you that. And it's your product insider info, all right? Three things I think I'm allowed to talk about. The first is, yeah, it's going 12 speed, all right? It's obvious. First one, it's going to go 12 speed. The second is the ditching Ant Plus, all right? So it's going to be a different wireless protocol, potentially a more stable wireless protocol. The third one is, well, this is out of my wheelhouse in terms of physics and all the rest of it, but, all right? But what I am told is that rear derailleurs don't just shift like, you know, straight across, like vertically, all right? That's just not how it works. They have a curve that they work on, all right? There's probably a better term to use, but they have a curve that they work on. A lot of the group set manufacturers essentially have a patent on the curve, the angles that they work with on that shift. One of the big changes on the 12-speed version is going to be a change to the curve on this. So that's going to be quite interesting. We've seen some of those upgrades as it's gone along. But yeah, that's potentially quite interesting, because obviously, as you can kind of read between the lines on that, changing the curve changes the kind of gear ratios that you're working with. Can I give one more hot take? One more hot take. Right. Now, FSA produce everything themselves in-house in Taiwan, all right? So the reason I say that is they have real potential to upscale their production. And if you've read anything about the whole Groupset manufacturing stuff at the moment, it's that inability for the big companies at the moment to upscale, so build factories and build machinery and all the rest of it. They can do that. They can do that. So depending on how much they want to push this potential Groupset that's coming, there is definitely a possibility for them to actually produce hardware. But guys, thank you again so much for watching. Please do hit the thumbs up. Please hit the thumbs up. It gets the video out there, gets the algorithm. Algorithm loves it. Algorithm loves the thumbs up. All right? Okay. So we'll see you really soon, guys. I'm going to be in Sydney for a bit, so hopefully I can get out in this wet weather and we can do some vlogs on the bike, all right? Peace. Talk to you soon.